So, a common theme in the Bible is the idea, you see this in the book of Revelation, okay? And I kept coming in the commentaries, you keep coming across this saying, which is, quote unquote, man in organized community. Man in organized community. Um, Now, that was Leon Morris's statement in his commentary on Revelation. And I thought it was really interesting. He's trying to break down this idea that he was trying to avoid the term city. And not because the Bible uses the term city, but he was trying to get down to the essence of why why does God address problems with cities? Um, and he's like, look, Leon Morris is trying to say wherever man organizes himself in this world, he tends to organize around evil. When you get to the very end of the book of Revelation, spoiler alert here to a degree, what comes down from the sky? The great city of God. And it's almost like, again, you have to be careful with your teaching sometimes, so just take this with a grain of salt. But it's almost like the great finale is man in wholly organized community. I did my quiet time, my enhanced quiet time. I did my enhanced quiet time. I'm in Joshua right now, and I love the story of Rahab. It was one of the first Bible stories that really, when I was just a new believer, that I was like, it's so interesting. Where she throws this cord down, it's a crimson cord, and the spies they go down the cord and they say, when our army arrives, uh, descend this cord down your window, and we'll tell them to look for it, and you'll be spared. And when they walk around the city 7 times, God has judged the city, and the walls collapse. But it says very clearly that her dwelling was built into the wall. So everywhere but hers had to have collapsed. Now, this is a reversal of something that happened in the wilderness with Israel. There was a man, I forgot his name, and it says that the earth swallowed him and his belongings. That God made the earth open to swallow him and his belongings. That God was very specific in his judgment, and then God is very specific here in his salvation of Rahab. Sodom and Gomorrah, if there's anyone righteous, God spare them. And so it's this idea that even if you or me or anyone are just kind of a fish out of water, wherever we worship God, wherever we do the thing that pleases God, it doesn't matter what our surrounding context is, even man in organized community. But anyway, back to the main point here is that I think it's interesting. This is what Logos Bible study software is really good for. Not an advertisement for them or anything. Just, in fact, I only have the app. I don't even have a full thing of it. But it's good sometimes to do a word search, and just look at some of these parallels. At the end of this whole episode with Rahab and with Jericho, Joshua tells the Israelites, and it's like a psalm. He basically says something like, if anyone attempts to rebuild Jericho, they will lose their firstborn. They will lose their firstborn son or something along those lines. So God has just thoroughly judged the city. But in the book of Revelation, what we learn is that wherever man organizes himself, he tends not to organize himself around God. He tends to organize himself around evil, around the principalities of this world. Kind of an interesting little tidbit.